What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another watch along. It is Tottenham against Elfsborg in the last Europa League game. This watch along is sponsored by the great Express VPN. Link is in description below and QR code is on screen for you right now. So go and show them some love. You get 4 free months extra if you do use our link. But there has been some interesting developments in terms of Tottenham transfers going into the last couple of days of the window. So let's get into a Tottenham update just before we start the watch along for you guys. And we're going to start off with a deal that looks like to be signed, sealed and delivered. And no, it's not Mathys Tel, people. It's Daniel Batty from Manchester City. As Fabrizio Romano says, Tottenham could complete a deal for the academy as they have agreed to sign an 18-year-old talent, Daniel Batty from Manchester City. £500,000 transfer fee and future add-ons with sell-on percentages. Medical is currently ongoing. And he is the son of David Batty, former Leeds player.
And Expressions has already coined him Danny Batistuta, which I love. Fair play. Look, attacking midfielder, apparently a lot of talent. He's only, I think, 16 years of age, so one for the future, of course. But I know we've been quite good at making these academy signings over the last few years, so clearly that's
the same age as half of our starting lineup today.
Huh?
He's the same age as half our starting lineup today.
Exactly. So maybe he's for the first team, but I doubt it. They said it's an academy signing, so I don't think it's one to expect to see anytime soon. But looks like we're still, as much as looking to get some deals in for now, we are definitely looking at some stuff for the future as well.
Yeah. And let's get into this Mathys Tel, because I've got a lot of updates to get through. We're going to start off with the guys that broke it, Loic Tanzi. And he says Tottenham and Bayern have reached an agreement for a transfer of the striker Mathys Tel for around 60 million euros. The 19-year-old Bayern Munich player must now make the decision. Fabrizio Romano says Tottenham have told Bayern Munich they are ready to pay 60 million euros for Tel. Tel and his agents are taking time to mull things over, with the other clubs also keen. Florian Plettenberg says, as revealed today, concrete negotiations between Tottenham and Bayern have started. Now the clubs have reached a verbal agreement for a transfer around 60 million euros. Tel has been informed, but he has not yet made a final decision on whether he'll accept the Spurs offer. Additionally, he has yet to decide whether he prefers a permanent transfer or a loan, especially since Tel has repeatedly stated publicly that he wants to become a legend and stay at Bayern Munich one day. Chelsea and Aston Villa are also in talks with Bayern Munich as we speak. The Quip are saying that other clubs have now quickly sent their proposals in order to stand a chance of signing Mathys Tel. Tottenham are leading the race and are pushing. Kerry Hoare, Bayern Munich journalist, says that Tottenham and Bayern Munich have an agreement for Tel. However, the player still wants to take his time before deciding whether to go to Spurs and pressing hard. The other clubs are also still interested. The ball is in Tel's court. Tom Orner of The Athletic says that Tottenham's bid for Tel is believed to include clauses, but is not a flat fee. Bayern have preferred a loan for Tel, but has been persuaded to do a permanent deal by the size of Tottenham's offer. Spurs pushed ahead in the hope of beating the competition with Johan Lang in Germany after he attended Bayern's match yesterday. And John Cross does say that Arsenal are pulling out all the stops to try and make the deal for Mathys Tel happen to go to Arsenal. So, I mean, it's great that we've agreed to deal with Bayern Munich and everything, but it's far from done.
No, it's not done at all. And if with Tel himself waiting for other clubs circling around it. And the reality is, though, the money we're prepared to commit to this transfer might blow everyone out of the water, because there's reports, I think Paul O'Keefe's suggesting that the money that we're using for this deal is the money that we got from Harry Kane, and that's the funds that we're basically financing this deal with. And so we don't have to commit any new funds basically to this transfer, and maybe we're willing to go a bit over price to try and get this deal done by using that money.
Yeah, it's because as well with the way the Kane deal was structured, they still owe us money on that, so yeah. It's all intertwined.
Right, and that's how deals usually happen in this day and age, and that's the thing. So they still owe us money, so we can basically say keep that and have this little bit on top, and we can have a deal here. Do I see Arsenal or Man United going as high as 60 million euros? I don't know, to be honest. I'm unsure if they actually will go that high.
Well, you look at it, right, and apparently the reports are in the last couple of hours that Chelsea are pushing hard for Garnacho. and the fee is going to be significant for Garnacho, right? It could be north of 60 million, right? So if that is the case, then I don't see Man United like bulking at 60 million for him.
That has to happen.
Yeah, of course it has to happen.
And that we're not relying on anything like that. So maybe while that happens, you know, that's not guaranteed, is it? They still got to negotiate that, and while that happens, we could get this deal done. In the meantime, if he is going to hold out and see if that deal happens, then it's going to be playing the waiting game. But I also don't think we make a bid and agree a deal unless we've got some indication that it wouldn't be a definite no. Put it that way. I'm not saying. There's a good chance as well that he's unsure, but we're basically trying to show our willingness to him that we really want him by agreeing this deal, and he's saying. That's great, but I'm going to wait just because I want to see what all my offers are before I make a decision, and that's fair enough. But also, don't think if we would have got in contact with his agent, he said no chance. I don't think we would have agreed to deal. I think there's probably a chance that he is interested. He wants to come to the Premier League, but he is weighing up his options. So I think at this point. Yeah, it's too early to celebrate any sort of deals or anything like that. It's interesting that considering. Tottenham's frugal nature, let's say, that this isn't apparently going to be a loan. It's going to be a straight permanent. And if that's one, I'm not sure if it plays into our favour when it comes to Tel himself, because I would have thought if I'm Tel, I'm looking at Tottenham right now, 15th in the league, and a lot of things up in the air, potentially. Do I want to commit the next 3, 4, 5 years of my career to a club in that kind of mess? So if I was him, I would be thinking, I'll probably agree a loan, maybe with an option to buy and see how it goes, essentially. But maybe the fact that we're willing to commit 5 years to him and spend that money is showing him, look, we really want you here, we really believe in you, and we don't want a loan. We want to get you in right now because we think you're an amazing talent. There are also reports over from Plettenberg saying Tel might want a loan in general because he still sees a future at Bayern in the long term and he doesn't want a permanent. So in terms of that, we'll have to wait and see if that plays into it as well. There's a lot of moving parts. If Arsenal are serious and gazump us with the money that we're paying up, I think he probably goes there. So I think it's still a very movable situation. But it looks like we have stolen a march at least on the opposition, and we are trying to prove to him that we are serious about him, and we're trying to show him that this is a deal that we really want to happen, and you could be a big part of our future. And obviously, Son's not getting any younger, and we need a long-term replacement for him, and he could be the perfect guy for that. We obviously need a guy who could fill in up front on occasion. He can do that as well. He's but on the flip side, though, if we do get him in, don't get me wrong, it'll cause a lot of excitement because he's a talented player, but he's still only 19, and he only played 2 seasons in the Bundesliga. Last season, I think he played 30 games, but only 11 starts. But he did have a great goal scoring record. I think it was 12 goal contributions last year.
He's been there for longer because we were trying to involve him in the Kane deal 2 years ago.
So last season was the first one where he was like proper starting. The year before that was like his breakout year, I think. And he was, I think, 17. I think he's Bayern's youngest ever goal scorer. He scored on his first ever start for Bayern. So last year, I think he got 12 goal contributions in all comps, and in 11 starts. But he did play 30 games. He was coming off the bench a lot. And obviously this season, for one reason or another, I don't know why Kompany hasn't fancied him or what's happened, but I think he's only started 2 games. And interesting enough, he did start yesterday for Bayern.
And actually at the end of that game, it clearly felt like he was off because he was going into the Bayern Munich fans. He was waving his goodbyes and everything like that. So it did signify the end when you were watching that. But I just feel like something's a bit fishy because, like, in this day and age, you usually get the personal terms agreed before you before you get the agreement with the club, and that hasn't happened in this in this scenario. And you're looking at Aston Villa now, who's just sold John Duran for the best part of 90 million to Saudi, so they've got the money to play with. You've got Manchester United, who look like to be selling Garnacho for big money, so they got the money to play with. You had Paul O'Keefe saying he prefers a Manchester United move over Tottenham.
That's why we're trying to get it done early, I think.
I know that, but because there's so little time left in the window, I think he'll wait till the last minute to make his decision.
He might well do, and that's obviously not going to be good news for us if he does, because that's the less likely he does. We have to sign him and all those things. So I'm not getting too excited, put it that way. But I still think clearly we our hat's in the ring, and let's see if it gets chosen at this point. But the problem is, if we hold out too much hope for this deal and it falls through, then that leaves us with nothing.
No Okafor, that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we are committing all our resources to getting this deal done, and there's nothing for contingency plans. Albeit we have heard, Worcester and Okafor, as you say, there's interest, but we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. It's going to be very, very interesting next few days, I think.
Yeah. So that's the news at the moment. Tottenham and Bayern Munich have agreed a €60 million fee to bring Mathys Tel for Tottenham. No agreement on the player side as of yet, so we'll have to wait and see how that progresses.
How much of if we get him though, for you, how much of a game changer is that?
I think it's a top signing. I've really liked him over the last couple of years, and I'll be delighted to see him through the door. But in terms of how I rate this kind of window, a success or not.
Not window, just him himself.
I'm very excited. Look, just him himself, I'm very excited about. In
terms of what he does for attack.
I think he can be a long-time replacement for Sonny. That's how much I believe in his talents. I think he is one of the most exciting talents in Europe, teenagers.
I agree, but should we expect him to come in and hit the ground running and really change our fortune straight away? Because he's still 19, and as much as he's got a good goal-scoring record, he's still got to bed into the Premier League. He's also got to figure out where his best position is. Is he out wide? Is he a striker? And he's still a bit raw. As much as he's clearly very talented, he's still a teenager. And
I think he can make an impact, but in terms of making like a world-class impact, if you like, probably not from the off. But I think if we were to sign him on a permanent, I think the long-term benefits will be substantial for us. And I think he will make a short-term kind of impact as well, just maybe not like what he would do in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. But he also gives us something we don't really have in that front line, that real pace and power and that fearlessness, which obviously with Odegaard out, we've definitely been missing a lot. But I think you can see his finishing ability compared to someone like an Odegaard in terms of final product is unbelievable. It's fantastic, and clearly he's ambitious. He wants to move because he wants to play. He's at a great club like Bayern, and he's at 19. He's not happy sitting on the bench. So it's going to be interesting if he comes, and let's say if he comes and we've got Solanke and Son both fit, if he's ever on the bench, if he'll start to kick up a fuss because he's coming to play. So it'll be quite interesting, that dynamic.
Yeah, I do think this signing is seen as inside of Tottenham, maybe the long-term replacement for Sonny.
I agree.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up, we're going to talk about Fikayo Tomori, as Longari says that Tottenham have probed for Fikayo Tomori through intermediaries. A player that I would love to see through Tottenham. I think he provides brilliant defensive cover, and also a player that can come in probably in the starting lineup and not cause too much of a difference in terms of... I think he's the perfect kind of cover that we need, Fikayo Tomori.
I like him. I don't think we are going to sign him because... if we would have done it, this signing we should have done at the beginning. I know. I guess you can say that for any signing, but especially with our defenders coming back, with Romero, Van de Ven obviously starting today. So, is there actually a massive need or desperation, I should say, for someone like Tomori to come in? Whereas maybe a few weeks ago there was. I guess. You can answer that yourself. I'd like him for sure if I was given the choice. I just think at this point now, I think the club will see these defenders coming back and think, are we really going to commit serious funds to Tomori? Probably not right now. So
I saw a report saying they're willing to let him go for something like 20 million.
If that's the case, it's quite a good deal.
Yeah, very good deal in my opinion. English as well, so helps with that quota for Europe for the rest of the season. But look, that's Tomori. Next up, Paul O'Keefe talking about Sergio Reguilón, saying Reguilón subject to interest from 2 clubs in Spain and Athens. Understand he is in no rush to make a decision and could finish the season and see his contract out at Tottenham Hotspur. Be interesting if he goes to Athens, link up with Eric Lamela again over there. But yeah, where I stand on Reguilón, I just don't see why to sell him now when we just don't have a backup. We don't have any options at left back. I think we kind of need him from now to the end of the season, even though he's not getting too many minutes.
That's the thing is, if he wasn't really getting minutes when we had that crisis, with that crisis only easing, he's only going to get less minutes. So, I guess I'd prefer to keep him around than not sign anyone. But obviously, I'd much prefer to bring someone in, a left back or a centre back, and maybe use Van de Ven potentially as an option there. But you got to remember, Doggy, if he's back at the beginning of February, you've got Davis who can play there, Van de Ven can play there. Now you've got Spence who can play there. there's not going to be much room for him.
Yeah, that's also true. But you never know. Like the injuries can, like Van der Ven has had a recurring injury this season. Like it's been the story of our season, right? Recurring injuries. Destiny Udogie started the season with an injury. He's injured now. So I mean,
Even Gray will be ahead of him as well.
Yeah.
There'll be 5 options ahead of him.
Yeah, but you just never know. Like we've just had the most insane injury crisis this season. If that doesn't let up and the players that come back get injured, then we're going to need him. And we might be sitting here talking about the injuries, saying, "Oh, I wish we never sold Reguilón because we might need him."
I agree, but if we haven't used him in this point, like with the injuries
we
we've
should have
already
been
had,
using him,
but
that's the reality.
we're not. We
I know
haven't.
we're not, but we
and
should have.
I know, and we haven't, and he doesn't want to. So, like, if we sell him, we sell him. And Reguilón shouldn't really be here. I know he is here, but we've wanted to get rid of him for a while. I think he's probably wanted to move on. So I think if he can get a move, then I don't really care, to be honest.
And last but not least, we're going to talk about Tyler Dibling. Charlie Gordon from The Express says that Southampton have internally discussed involving Tottenham midfielder Tyrese Hall in any potential deal to sell Tyler Dibling. And I really wouldn't want to see Tyrese Hall go. Unless it's maybe on like a buyback with a clause for buyback or just a loan when you get him back so he helps them get up from the Championship next season or something like that. But I really want to see Tyler Dibling at this club. But I really don't want to see Tyrese Hall leave the club.
Yeah, I think everyone's very excited about Tyrese Hall. There are some suggestions even that he's one of the best products, best academy products we have. So for me, it would be a massive shame to let go of Tyrese Hall. But Dibling is clearly a special talent and he's already got that Premier League experience. So, is there anything to suggest that Tyrese Hall is a bigger talent than Dibling? Not necessarily. So if the club makes the judgment call that having Dibling is better than having Tyrese Hall, I think I'd be open to it for sure, from what I've seen. But it would be a shame because Tyrese Hall I really like the look of, and in the pre-season games he's played, he looks like a talent as well. Shame he hasn't really gone on loan this season and really trying to make that impact that we hoped, because he's kind of maybe, I don't know if he's stagnated or not. I don't know how well he's done when he's played this season for under 21s. If he's been
he's smashing out. He's the best player by far.
But is that because all the other players have, gone out? Like
he's a real standout. I mean, he's scored plenty of goals. He seems to be the best player there by a mile. And yeah, a lot of players have left. You've got a player as well who's kind of come to the fore this season in Oliver Iro, who's scored he scored 6 goals in his last 7 games. But Tyrese Hall has not stagnated. He's getting better from last season for sure. Okay,
so I'd prefer to keep him around if given the option. Maybe we can get the deal done without including Hall, rather that. But if it's a must, then might have to. I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens on that one. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Significant movement in the Mathys Tel deal. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below.